This is the President McCormack Podcast with your host, Mark McCormack.
Today on the podcast, we have John Barlow. Welcome, John.
Thanks for having me.
It's kind of fun, man. We just jump right in, huh?
Waiting for some grand music to play.
Yeah, they add it all later. I got on Fiverr when I first started this and just like ordered some, beginning music and secondary music for like $60, and that's what we stuck with.
Hey, that works.
So it's pretty easy to make a podcast look professional these days.
The setup's amazing. So
thank you.
I think you've done great.
Yeah. So one of the fun things that you and I are working on right now is Vida Tequila. Mm-hmm. So tell me about Vida. You guys started it, you and your wife, Lisa, started it 15 years ago?
Roughly, yeah. So we started working on it early 2000s, but launched the end of 2007, early 2008. Mm-hmm. Our first launch event was actually in Park City back when it was called Harry's. And it was during the Sundance Film Festival. Some good memories, some not so good memories. It was grueling. So we started together. Lisa's the one that named it. She's designed. We had what we call our ugly bottle, squatty bottle at the beginning because we didn't really know what we were doing. But then after we figured some things out, redesigned the bottle, and Lisa is the one that redesigned the bottle or designed the one that we have right now. Yeah. And so we've just been doing it together for this whole time.
So when was the moment that you guys were like, tequila, that's what we need to do?
That's an interesting question. It's because it wasn't like something we'd been researching I personally had never had a sip of tequila before we started working on this, on our company. A little bit of backstory. So when I went to BYU, I'm going to be weird. There's going to be weird things all through this conversation.
Yeah, let us have it.
So I went to BYU. I needed to do an internship when I was finishing up, and a girl that I worked with at Los Hermanos, I was a waiter. Her dad was an entrepreneur, turned around companies, stuff like that. I was telling her what I was needing to do, and so he was at the time turning around a newspaper company in Buffalo, New York. So she's like, let me ask my dad because he could probably use you. And so he did. So I, not knowing him, anything, packed up my truck, drove out to Buffalo, spent 2 months out there with him, shadowing him, watching him do his stuff. Anyway, got to be really good friends. After I graduated, I went and worked and, kind of learned some things on my own. And we reconnected, and he's like, hey, I've got a list of projects I'm working on. Would you be interested in helping out? And so I showed him to Lisa. Lisa and I had been married for a couple of years by this point. And she's the one that was like, hey, tequila's on this list. And at the beginning, the distillery that we now partner with had an in-house brand that they wanted to market in the U.S. And so Lisa's like, tequila sounds the most sexy on the list. And so we started looking into it. And after a few months of actually doing some research and more on Lisa's part, but she's like, we should just see if they'll make a recipe for us. And so that's what we did. We asked the distillery, we're like, hey, we appreciate the opportunity to market your brand, but will you create a recipe of, Blanco, Reposado, and Añejo for us? We'll get the investment. We'll do everything. And they said, yeah. So, off to the races after that. It was, it obviously no business is easy, especially up and going and not knowing what you're doing. But Lisa had connections to the wine and spirits industry. A family friend of hers ended up being the CFO of at the time, the second largest distributor in the U.S., Charmer Sunbelt Group. And so he mentored us a little bit. And so it was, so that's kind of how it all started. We were trying to figure out names for the brand, and she literally sat up one night at like 3 a.m. She's like, it's got to be Vida. Vida means life in Spanish. And at the time, and they still are the biggest, but Patron. Yeah. Patron means master. And she's like, the only thing that can take out the master is life. Right. And she's like, we got to name it Vida. And so started working on the trademark the next day, got it, everything. So it's been a fun ride. It's been interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and you guys, so you're practicing LDS, right?
Yeah, our way.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So with that background, and, especially 15 years ago, did you have trepidation like starting a tequila brand or a spirit brand?
To a degree, yes. To a degree, no. So we approached it as a business.
Yeah.
First and foremost, I was raised LDS. Grew up all over the U.S., served a mission, went to BYU, graduated from BYU. So as weird as it sounds, when we started Vida, at first I was like, I'll taste it just to see how familiar I am with it and everything. But, I was on the fence. I'm like, do I drink? Do I not drink? That sort of thing. And so for the first little while, I was like, well, I'll taste it periodically. Yeah. And realized it was stupid. I mean, one, because it's great tequila. Yeah. And, and I started to immerse myself in the industry more. And not to the point where I'm like an alcoholic or anything, but I appreciate, different types of spirits. Yeah. And the funny thing about that is it helped me learn more, not only about our company and how to talk to other people about it, but other spirits and how they all relate. And so it was like... So to a degree, yeah, there was a little bit of trepidation because it was more about like how I was going to feel,
right,
and how comfortable I was. And so, but other people, I didn't really care as much. Like we had, and this probably doesn't come as a surprise, but we had a lot of people stick their noses up to us and be like, I can't believe you would be selling alcohol. You're Mormon. This is horrible. Yeah. But then those same people 2 weeks later would be knocking on our door saying, hey, we've got some clients that love tequila. You don't happen to have any bottles I can give them. Yeah. And, we were like, sure, whatever, whether it's really for a client or for them. So,
right.
And it's funny because over time, especially where we live in Draper, and everybody knows what we do. They accept it. They don't care. They all kind of view it the same thing. Like I said, just as a business, it's just what we do.
Have you guys been in Draper for a while? Have you lived in other places?
We have, yeah. So we've been in Draper since Jack's 18 now. So since he was probably 2. So about 16 years, yeah.
How many? One house, 2 houses?
No. So we started when Jack was born. We were in a little townhouse just off the freeway.
Cool.
in Draper, and just gradually moved up. And so we went from there to a twin home just a little bit farther up Rambling Road, and then we've been on our street now for probably 14 years.
Yeah.
So cool. And we love Draper. It's great.
Yeah. No, Draper's amazing. So are your neighbors still hitting you up on Vida?
Oh yeah. For sure. One of the best stories or memories from us, and this goes back probably like 5 or 6 years ago, or probably longer actually, because it was with our old bottle. So on garbage day, I pulled out of the driveway, and the garbage truck must have come, and it was like must have been during the winter because it was stormy out and everything. But there was an empty bottle of Vida on the street, and I can't remember whose house it was in front of. Yeah. But I took a picture of it and sent it to Lisa, and I'm like, hey, someone around here is buying Vida and drinking it. We got to let everybody know we appreciate it.
Yeah. No, that's way cool.
But yeah, no, there's, it's funny though, because when they hit us up now, it's not they're scared to ask or anything. They'll just be like, hey, I've got some people coming in town or something like that. And so it's kind of funny because I think everybody that we live by, we've all grown together as far as accepting everything.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny for me too, because my first experience with Vida was at the state liquor store. Okay. I went in there, it was my really good friend's birthday. It was right around Christmas actually. Okay. And I was like, man, I want to get him, and he's from Hispanic descent, right? Okay. And so I was like, I'm gonna get this dude some really amazing tequila, right? Now, granted, I didn't actually know that much about tequila back then. Okay. But the thing that drew me to Vida was the bottle. Okay. I was like, oh, this thing looks pretty, like it looks really nice, and it's top shelf stuff. And so I was like, oh, I'll get this. And then him being Hispanic is fun, right? Because when you give him gifts, he wants to drink with you, right? Yeah. So then we basically pounded a whole bottle in one night.
It's easy to do. It goes down smooth. It's dangerous.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's awesome. It's really good. It's really, really good. And so, and then we've had it a few times past, after that, and I'm kind of in the world of like I want to sample a whole bunch of stuff. So I probably tasted 400 tequilas or something like that.
Yeah, Lisa and I laugh and kind of joke around it. We got into tequila before it was cool.
Yeah.
You know, because you say 300 or 400 tequilas. Like when we started, there were probably maybe 400 tequilas worldwide.
Yeah.
Now there's thousands.
Yeah.
And you've got all these celebrities that are jumping on board. Yeah. Tequila right now is, and ultra premium tequila is the highest or fastest growing market segment. And you've got all these celebrities that are jumping in trying to capitalize on it. And that's why we joke around. We're like, we were doing it before tequila was cool.
Yeah. No, you have. I mean, your brand has been around for a long time, which is, if people understand the spirits world, you either stay or you burn out quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and like I said, it hasn't been easy. We've gone through good times, bad times. We've got 7 years between our two boys.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is because of Vida. You know, Vida really is our third child.
Yeah.
With it meaning life in Spanish, it really has taken on our life.
Yeah.
But, you know, we've stuck with it. To Lisa's credit, she is tenacious. She endures. There were days where I was like, let's just throw in the towel and go figure something else out. And she's like, no, this is it. She's like, I love it. This is what we're going to do. Good times, bad times, whatever. Yeah. And so it's been interesting.
Yeah. I like that you say she's tenacious. I'd agree.
Very. Yeah. She's the type of person that if someone says no, she views that as maybe, or take this other road around to get to the answer she wants.
So when you launched Vida, what were you doing for a career at the time?
So I was in tech. Okay. And so when I came out of school, my first real job out of school, I was actually working for a hitch manufacturing company here in Utah. I was their first full-blown salesperson, and it's really where I learned the art of selling, the art of communicating, of relationships, that type of thing. And because they were probably around $400,000 or $500,000 in sales, I left about 3 years later, and they were right around 12, 13 million.
Wow.
And so I had helped take them nationwide into Canada, into Australia. And I knew nothing about it before I got started, but it was a fun ride. And then I ended up changing and going back into software. When I was finishing up college, I worked with my dad presenting hard drive utility software. So I always liked tech and everything. Got back into tech. And then that's when ran back into the guy with the list of projects. Yeah. And so, you know, and Lisa she was running global HR for Landesk, a local tech company that had spun off from Intel. And so that's, you know, our backgrounds. Lisa has HR, sales, that type of thing. Mine was more sales, marketing, you know, business development type stuff.
Yeah. Oh, cool. So how many years did it take after Vida was launched before you went full time?
It's been, you know, I went full time probably about a year into it.
Oh, nice.
And then, you know, ran through some struggles. So you know, for the first few years I bounced in and out. Yeah. And so, cause we were doing it all on our own, grassroots and everything. And so I ended up working with a company in the ed tech industry, which was great because one, it helped pay the bills and, you know, kept Vida going. Yeah. And Lisa was more full-time Vida, but that was when she started her marketing company to kind of supplement Vida. And so I had a great time with the ed tech. It was one of those situations where it was kind of warm fuzzies, where it was industry certification exams for high school kids, where if they were going to get into college, it helped get them into college. Or if they're in a situation where they had to go straight into the workforce, they would have these certifications, you know, specializing in Excel, Word, that type of thing. So some kids left high school and got jobs making $35,000 to $40,000 a year because their families couldn't afford for them to go to college. So it was kind of neat. And then Lisa, she had started her marketing company doing experiential marketing, mainly during like Sundance Film Festival, grew into Toronto Film Festival, Cannes Film Festival. And it was ways to put Vida into these events without us having to pay anything. Right. And so it's, you know, it's all kind of worked together.
Yeah. Yeah, she's good at that.
She's very good at that. She's got a great eye for opportunity and connecting people, connecting different types of situations. You know, she'll talk to someone and they'll give them a little bit of background about who they are and everything. And within 5 minutes, she can say, oh, you need to meet so-and-so. Or I want to introduce you to so-and-so. It's going to help you out in so many ways. Or, you guys could work together and it would build what you're doing. Yeah. And so, she's really good at that. And one great thing too with her, she's very inclusive. She's not someone that's like, I want everything for myself. Like she wants everybody to have a piece of whatever's available.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe that for sure. So what do you think, the next thing for Vida really is going to be?
As far as, well, we've, like I said, we've gone through ups and downs. We were starting to really hit the market well. And that's when we decided to change the bottle. And that was, I thought would be a 6-month process. That turned into more of a 4-year process. Yeah. Because it's a totally custom bottle. We went through probably 20 to 30 different molds, and almost a marriage a couple times, because it got to the point where I wanted to just get product on the shelves, because it was a fine balance, because we were still trying to sell our old bottle, but we couldn't, sell that. We had to pull out a market because we didn't want to have confusion on the shelves with the new bottle once it came out. And it's really interesting. One of the fun stories I like to tell about Lisa and the bottle. So we got the second to last mold, and it's not anything close to what we have now, but it was almost there. And I was begging Lisa, I'm like, let's just go with this. It's all right. It looks good. It's different from our original bottle. And she's like, no, it can't. That's not the way it's supposed to be. She had a vision in her mind. So she got out blue painter tape and taped up the bottle to make it look like how she wanted it, with the angles and everything. And she ended up sending pictures of that to the manufacturer. And he said it was millimeters of change, but it was drastic enough that it's to the current bottle. And I'm grateful every day that she didn't listen to me. Yeah. And so we did that. Then we started again climbing, making progress, getting back into market, and then COVID hit. And so with that, it was kind of a not totally negative, because our off-premise sales, liquor stores and everything went up, it increased, but the on-premise, the restaurants, they closed down restaurants, bars, that sort of thing. And so it did balance out, and luckily alcohol is what we call recession resistant. Yeah. And so we were able to weather that storm, but we pulled out of a couple markets, focusing on Utah, Nevada, and a couple others. And now as we're coming out of it, we have the glass situation. Not just us, everybody. Automotive's dealing with it, with windshields, computers and tech with the chips. And in the spirits industry, it's affected everybody. I don't know if you went into liquor stores over the last couple of years, but Patron they had a printout saying only one bottle could be purchased a week, that sort of thing. And that was to try to space things out. So now we're coming out, we've got glass, so we're on the trajectory to get back to where we were and more. The show obviously has just put Vida on the map everywhere.
Let's talk about that. So,
sure.
So you guys are both characters on a very popular show here in America. No, the Real Housewives of Salt Lake. Uh-huh. Which was one of the funny things. I don't know if I've talked much about it on the podcast, but I'm like an odd, weird super fan of the show. Or I just consume the whole thing. I don't know where a super fan is and what he's not, or she's not. But yeah, so was it 4 years ago you guys made the decision to get on the show?
Yeah, so season 3 is just finishing up airing. Yeah. Technically about 4 years ago. So Lisa's the one that brought the show here. There was one of our good friends that owns Handle in Park City, has a friend that's in production, and was talking to her and saying, hey, we're interested in having a show about ladies. At the time, it was more going to be focused on entrepreneurial ladies and women in business. Yeah. And Megan immediately thought about Lisa because of Vida, because we owned Silver at one point, is a restaurant up in Park City, and also because of Lux Marketing, which is Lisa's marketing company. Yeah. So they interviewed Lisa and loved it. They loved talking with her, her energy, everything. So then she's the one that recommended almost everybody on the cast.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, it was supposed to originally going to be pitched as women in business. They filmed what would be called the sizzle reel. Mm-hmm. And that was where, I don't know if you remember in the first season, but they show Lisa and I and our boys driving around visiting Wendy's, Sonic, like 3 or 4 different fast food places. And that was in the sizzle reel. And apparently Bravo loved it because, the head of production actually asked Lisa, they're like, hey, can we come over and get a film you guys making dinner for your family? Lisa's like, we don't do that. And so they were like, well, what do you do? And she's like, we drive through fast food. And so they're like, no way. So that's what they filmed. And Bravo was like, this is crazy. Like, this family is just driving through fast food after fast food for dinner.
Yeah.
But so Bravo, they pitched it to Bravo. And at the time, I think 200 submissions were given. And ours was the only one accepted by Bravo. And they liked it enough. They wanted to put power behind it. So with Housewives being such a strong franchise, they were like, let's do Housewives of Salt Lake. And so that's how it came to be. It's been a crazy ride.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, the first time we met, man, what did we talk, like an hour and a half, just about?
I think so. Yeah.
Real Housewives. Get a little insider scoop for myself. Yep. Yeah. No, it's funny too, because when someone found out, I told people that I met with you. Okay. And so some of my Real Housewife friends it was just me, you, and David,
Yep.
My business partner and cousin. But they were like, oh, you talked to John Barlow? And people start going into it, right? Then they kind of get this little whispering going around, like, what did he tell you? I'm like, no, nothing, It's just like, what do you expect, The one thing I thought was crazy, though, when we talked was how real it is.
It's very real.
Because I was honestly expecting you to be like, I don't know, 10, 20%. They just pop bottles and, try and get us to, go crazy and that kind of stuff.
Go flip that table. Let's see what happens. Yeah. No, it is. People don't realize it is real. We get asked that a lot. One of the biggest questions is, does production create drama?
Right.
Are they the ones that tell you what to say? And it's not that way. And it was and we knew that going in because we'd obviously filmed the first season.
Yeah.
But what we didn't know, and we don't obviously now, is we wouldn't know what was going on unless we were in the scene, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we get the episode a few days before it airs for everybody else to watch. And the first season was a huge, just slap in the face moment, because we finished filming, and we filmed for about 4 months. And then they do all the editing and everything like that. So we finished filming the first season, and Lisa walked away thinking, okay, this is great. They filmed our family. They're going to see our family acting really, fun and interacting. And she's like, I feel like I did well with all the other ladies, everything. And within the first 2 episodes, Lisa was waking up to messages after the episodes. You should die. You're a cunt. You're a horrible mom. You're dismissive. You're a bitch. And Lisa would be just totally distraught for days.
I was getting wrecked.
And it was nothing because of her. It was because of other ladies on the show narrating her, and Bravo allowing them to narrate who she was. So the first season was her introduction to the Bravo-verse and all of these fans was what these other ladies were telling them how Lisa was.
Right.
And
what was the main drama with that? Wasn't it that Lisa?
It was the
said
college,
that she was a good time girl.
Yeah, so
called Heather the good time girl or some crap.
So one of the ladies on the show was saying that Lisa knew her in college, and Lisa met her for the first time in 2017.
Yeah.
Lisa was in college in in the 90s, late 90s.
Yeah.
And so she didn't know this person. But she actually did recommend her for the show, which sucked. This girl was telling everybody that Lisa had known her, but now Lisa doesn't want to act like she knows her. So that was kind of the main drama. Yeah. And at the first reunion, Lisa just lost her shit a few times, just like, you're lying, you're making all of this up, and you're making me look bad in the process.
Yeah. So I told you this, but we got a little hooked on the show because Whitney went to high school with my wife.
Yep.
And her first husband was my football friend. I was the center and he was the quarterback.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
So I know Sam really, really well. Or at least back then I did. Right. So it was like, Okay, and Whitney's brother's a friend of mine as well.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, this will be interesting to see what the Real Housewives of Salt Lake's all about, right?
Yeah.
But I think it was the reunion show that I was just like, oh yeah, I cannot wait to see what these husbands have to say. You know what I mean?
It was
because that was wild.
That first reunion was crazy because they had the husbands out there, and it was Coach Shaw and Justin and I. We were the only ones that showed up in person. Seth had to do it remote. Mary's husband did it remote also. So they had the filming that day took, I think it was like almost over, it might've been more than 12 hours of filming. And they had the husbands in a room for the whole time, and they had a TV up and they were streaming it. So we were watching it.
Yeah.
So we'd be talking, getting to know each other and everything. Cause I'd never met Coach before the show. I'd never met Justin before the show. Yeah. So we'd be getting to know each other. Then all of a sudden we'd look up at the screen and Whitney and Lisa would be just going at it. So then Justin and I would just kind of, keep our head down, just watch the screen. Then as soon as they moved on to yelling at other people, then we'd get back to talking and everything like that. And so it was a trip. And then there was and then when they had the husbands out there, Robert Sr. came on and he was pissed off and was just fiery. So then after they took us off the stage, all of a sudden the live feed went dead. And because I think he had been watching it and seeing people saying stuff towards Mary, which is just what happens, and he didn't like it. Yeah. So now, second reunion, they didn't let us watch anything. We had to come out not knowing anything. Third reunion, same thing.
Yeah, it's coming out blind each time. Yeah. And you guys, for people listening to this, you just filmed last week?
The reunion was filmed first week of December.
Oh, the first week of December.
Yeah, okay. It was. Was it the first? Man, time flies right now. Yeah. It was like 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago.
Okay, yeah.
Actually, no, sorry, I take it back. It was the 16th was when it filmed.
16th.
Because Henry's birthday is the 13th, Lisa's is the 14th. We had to fly out, so we didn't get to celebrate anybody's birthdays that week.
Oh, gotcha.
Because it was all reunion prep.
It was Bravo time.
Yeah.
So did you ever meet Robert Sr.?
Not in person.
Yeah, you never met him in person, right? Because he didn't really appear all that much.
Yeah.
I mean, people who watch the show, Mary and was Jen, right? Jen said something bad.
Oh, yeah. Well, because he's her step-grandfather.
Yeah.
So, that was the other part of like major drama and highlights for the first season.
Well, that's a wild storyline.
It's crazy.
This really pretty lady, owns this church here in Utah that's turned out to be pretty crazy, cultish.
Yep.
And then she's married to her stepfather or step-grandfather.
That she said that she was betrothed to him.
Yeah.
But then and said there was paperwork, but then come to find out there wasn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah. One of our good friends who passed away, Cameron. Yeah. He was in season 2. Great dude, brilliant. Great in the community here in Utah. He was changing things for all sorts of different areas in Utah. When he first moved out here, he's from Chicago, and he went to Mary's church.
Right.
And he told us some crazy stuff, but like he had mortgaged his house to donate to her church, stuff like that.
Yeah, I remember that being part of the story.
Yeah, it was crazy. So it was an interesting, Mary was an interesting lady.
Yeah. I'm assuming you haven't heard from her since, right?
No, we haven't heard from her since. So she didn't show up to the second season reunion, which is pretty much means you're no longer going to be part of the show.
Yeah.
And so she didn't show up, and we haven't heard from her. She sent some text messages to Lisa around the time Cameron passed, and we were driving down to Vegas to go visit some accounts and do some work down there and spend some family time down there. And she sent a kind of like an apology text to Lisa for being rude to her and everything. And Lisa didn't see the text message for like an hour because I think she'd been sleeping or something. And in that time frame, because Lisa didn't reply back fast enough, Mary sent another text following up saying, I no longer apologize. You're going to die just like Cameron. I mean, all sorts of crazy stuff.
Oh,
and so that was the last thing Lisa ever heard from Mary.
Which is so wild with her too, because she went after Whitney. in the same manner, right? Like Whitney didn't respond to her quick enough because she was doing carpool, right?
Yep.
She goes, "You little girl," or whatever.
Little girl. That's
little girl.
Famous saying now. Yeah. Have you watched any of the other franchises?
Not one.
Get into them?
Not one.
It's funny because they do start to become addictive.
Yeah.
Because when we first knew we were going to do this, I watched a few of the other franchises like New York and Beverly Hills.
Is it the New Jersey one where the chick flipped the table?
Yes. Yeah,
what
Teresa.
Teresa. Yeah. So I've seen clips. I mean, I've seen a lot of clips.
Yeah. It's funny because I was watching it to see what the husbands were like because the last thing I want to do is embarrass Lisa.
Right.
And so, but as I was doing that, I actually got drawn in to where I do watch them now. Like I'll set the DVR for Beverly Hills and tell Lisa, okay, we got to be sitting down by 9:00 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm just as big a fan as you are.
Which is funny, right? I mean, people come like when I tell people I'm a big fan of Real Housewives of Salt Lake, right? People are just like, what? Like you don't even watch TV? And I'm like, I know, man, but I love this crap. I've been stopped at the gym by more guys asking about the show. Like, they'll and they're cool about it. They'll just come up and be like, hey, are you Lisa's husband? Yeah. Like and they'll be like, my wife or my girlfriend loves watching the show. And then, they might be like, so what happened with this, or something like that. And so it's pretty funny, but so I think there's more closet fans than people know or realize. And there's a lot of open fans. Well, and since you've watched the other seasons, or the other franchises, how does this one compare to those ones? Is it more entertaining, less? I know it's probably hard because you're on it. Yeah,
it is hard to really compare. I would have to gauge it off feedback that I've seen through different social media posts that I'll run across or talking to other people. It seems really well received.
Yeah.
I think people at first were like, Salt Lake, Utah, like why would anybody? But Utah is such a cool state.
Yeah.
Like I said, I grew up all over. I've been here the longest than I've ever lived anywhere else. And Lisa's from New York, and we love it here. Yeah. And we tell everybody wherever we're traveling, Utah's a hidden gem.
Yeah.
And it's funny because now with it being on Bravo, people will come to Salt Lake now because they want to get the Housewives experience. Right. And Lisa will get messages like, hey, I stopped in Whitehorse and had Vida drinks, or I went by the liquor store and bought Vida, and I went by Beauty Lab, and then I'm getting some Wild Rose, and they want the experience, but then they ended up saying how much they thought Utah was incredible.
Yeah. All the women need to get together and start a bar or something downtown. They can all sell their swag out of there.
Yeah, they could. If they probably wouldn't get along.
Oh, I wouldn't put them in there.
Yeah, that's true. Just their stuff. Yeah, just get like a merch store.
Yeah, with a little cardboard cutout of them. Like I'll take a picture with them.
Yeah. That's so true.
Is it trippy seeing yourself on that show?
Yeah, it is.
Or it's probably trippier seeing Lisa, right?
Not really Lisa. Lisa was kind of born for this type of thing.
Okay.
And she'd been on some other shows prior. The Shahs of Sunset is a show that's been on Bravo for a while.
Yeah.
And she actually did a cameo on there. It was just on a phone call.
Yeah.
But where they had her name, Lisa Barlow, owner of Lux Marketing, Vida Tequila, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And it was her talking to, I think her name was Lily Galici, and she was a cast member on the show at the time. So she's done that. We did film a pilot or a sizzle for another reality TV show before this one. Probably, I think it was 2012, 13, and it didn't go anywhere. But so we did that. So Lisa, it's not weird seeing Lisa on this stuff at all. Yeah. I mean, like I said, she's perfect for it.
Yeah.
For me, I don't know. I feel like I look like a goofball. So I'm just like, whatever I can do to support Lisa and not look stupid.
It seems like they've portrayed you well, though. Are you happy with the way they portrayed you?
Yeah, I think so. There's Meredith tried to, this season's been tough because Meredith tried to portray it as like I'm some puppy dog, lost puppy dog following Lisa. I mean, like to use her words, she doesn't know what I do every day other than follow Lisa around.
Right.
And so Lisa's taken some heat from that. And in season 1, and Lisa still gets mad at me for saying this, but I made a joke about how I check with her before I say anything.
Right.
And that's just me being funny, trying to be funny.
Yeah.
but people ran with it. So then, even at the reunion on the first season, Andy's first question was, did Lisa prep you on this? And so, Lisa, it's so that as far as portraying me, it's tough because, other people, and it's a Housewives show.
Yeah.
I'm not there to, get front and center or anything like that. People don't need to know what I do.
Yeah.
As long as Lisa knows and as long as I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and that's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
But
you come in, you grab a protein shake, you give her a kiss on the cheek, move out, get the hell out of the screen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of times when we're filming together, it's to kind of recap something that happened, at an event the day before.
Right.
I do like the way that they portrayed our family, and it's real too. Going back to like what you said, it's totally real. Like some people on these shows, they try to do what they think the audience wants and speak to how they think the audience wants. Lisa is not like that. She hasn't been like that from the beginning.
Yeah.
And same with me. Like we've had conversations, like in season 1, we were having conversations about, do we spend too much time on work stuff and neglecting our kids to a degree when we're working hard so that we can provide for our kids, type thing.
Well, and the one storyline too was like, you don't talk to Lisa for 2 weeks during Sundance, right?
Yeah.
And then you're just home, and it's like, it's funny how people react to that, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, what do you guys expect? This is like the Super Bowl. It's 2 weeks. It's actually more like 10 days, right?
It is. It's 10 days. And I've told Lisa, because in the past, we would either rent a place up in Park City, and we would have all 4 of us up there. So we would have to pull our kids out of school, which would make things tough, and then have to come up with activities for them to do during the day. And then Lisa would be gone. She'd be gone during the day getting stuff ready, but then she'd be gone during the night. But she, being a mom, felt like she was doing a good job having our kids there.
Yeah.
And I finally told her after a couple of years, I'm like, just go, stay up there. It's like a business trip. If I go on a trip and I have to go to Florida or something, I go there for 3 or 4 days. I can focus, get my stuff done, then come back to the family. And that's what I told Lisa. I'm like, just because it's Park City and we can drive there, it doesn't make it any different. And it was weird though, because she got a lot of pushback.
Yeah, she did.
With that. Like people are like, you're a horrible mom. Why would you not answer the phone? And it's like, well, if you're in a business meeting or something, and not only that, kind of pat myself on the back. I cook, I clean,
right.
I know how to take care of my kids. Yeah. I'm very hands-on with my boys. So if Lisa's off somewhere, whether it's a girls' trip or work or whatever, I can work from home and I can keep the house from burning down.
Right. And normal people do that shit all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I do it. If my wife goes off on the girls' weekend, I'm home with the kids. It's not like I got to call a nanny.
And I think there's maybe to a degree, you and I are anomalies, or people think we are. I'm sure there are more husbands out there that can do it, but there are still some husbands that are like, oh my gosh, if my wife leaves, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what I can do. We're going to have, my kids won't have clean clothes for 3 days or something like that.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what still general people think in general, but no, not with us.
Or they don't know what high performing businesses look like.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, gosh, I mean, I was on a business trip for 6 days one time, and I was like, it's actually super lonely. That's the thing that what people think, like, oh, they're on this business trip gallivanting around. And it's like, no, dude, this is like exhausting.
Yeah.
And hers has got to be crazy exhausting because she's doing things all day.
Yep.
And then the events are happening generally at night. I'm sure there's some stuff during the day too, but it's just like thing after thing after thing.
Yeah.
And she's got how many venues up there? Like 9?
She has, right now, when we first filmed the season 1, she had over 50 events.
Oh,
and that's all within the first 5 days.
Yeah.
And so right now, I think she has probably about 20 to 25 on tap for this Sundance coming up. And that's within the first 3 to 5 days.
Yeah.
Really, Sundance, after the 5th day, it kind of tapers off a little bit.
Oh, okay.
And people think, kind of to your point, like as far as, being gone and everything, she's not gone the full 10 days. It's really 3 to 4 days or whatever. But she is tapped out. I mean, she gets probably 2 hours of sleep each day for those days. And then, but not only that, but you have the build up. Like right now, she's been in full blown Sundance mode, talking with her clients, getting things arranged and everything. And then what's crazy is Sundance ends she'll be done like the first week of February. She has events that she's getting ready for the NBA All-Star week. So she's doing events during that. And then filming for season 4 is going to start at the end of February, beginning of March.
All right.
So it's like I don't know when she's going to be able to catch up on sleep.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah. But that's what, we signed up for it. That's, how it is. You own your businesses, you run your business. It's a 24-hour gig.
Yeah. And
it's what we live for, what we would do.
Yeah. I've become the guy on a plane that just sleeps. Because it's like, I used to work sometimes, then sometimes I'd just be like, I'm just going to zone out and watch a movie, right?
Yeah.
But then you watch every movie in the Delta Suite and you're like, okay, I'm done. Or at least every good one.
Yeah.
And so now I just put in earplugs and I might put a podcast on or a book, but I really just sleep because it's like I'm going to catch up on all my sleep and then hit the ground running when I get out.
Yeah, no, same. And I agree with you, like with traveling, like people think that, you're in wherever, you're just having a great time. It's like, no, I'm grinding. Yeah. And then for me, my downtime, I'm trying to exercise whatever I can. Yeah. And then, I get back to the hotel, do emails, catch up on stuff that you missed out during the day, go to sleep and start over.
Potentially call the kids if they're still up.
Yeah. And the beauty of it with kids now, as opposed to a long time ago, with phones, you can send text messages. Like one of my goals when we were going to have Jack was to tell him I love him every day. And same with Henry. So when I'm traveling, if I can send a text message, hey, thinking about you, love you. Yeah. That way, if I don't get to call him or talk to him, then at least send him a message. Yeah.
Now with the kids, talking about them a little bit, how do they feel about the show? They give much feedback? You watch it with them?
They don't really watch it. Lisa and I watch it together. So we'll watch when we get the episodes, and then watch. She has to be on social media when it's airing on Wednesdays. Yeah. And so I'll watch it with her, and I'll try to pick out different things that she could, maybe comment on or something like that. And but the boys are cool about it. Jack, and what's crazy though, so there's a couple different thoughts. One, it's neat because it is documenting our family in a way that we never would have. So 10 years from now, I could go on Xfinity on demand or whatever and pull up and watch it. Yeah. And it's crazy watching the first couple of seasons because Jack was 14 when we filmed. He's 18 now. Yeah. And so it's really trippy. He's a little bit more on the shy side. Like it's funny because he's great with friends. He's total extrovert, loves talking to people, meeting people and everything. But when it comes to the show and filming, I think he thinks he's being like outgoing and loud and everything, but really he's not. Yeah. And so we're always like, you need to talk more, this or that. But he's had a pretty good time. Henry loves it. Yeah. He's what was it? So Lisa, one of her famous sayings now is "baby gorgeous." Right. And so that was when he was getting in the car, picking him up from school, and she's like, "Hey, baby gorgeous." And so I can't remember what it was. Like a week or two ago, he said something like, "You got to come up with a different name for me. I can't be baby gorgeous anymore." And
yes, you can.
Yeah, and he will. Yeah. He's going to be baby gorgeous for a long time. Yeah. But they've, it's funny because hearing some of the stories that they have. Jack went to a Jack Harlow concert with some friends when he was in town, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago. Yeah. He was just there with friends watching, and he said all of a sudden some people tapped him on the shoulder, and it was some moms. And they're like, "Are you Jack Barlow?" And he's like, "Yeah." And they're like, "We love your mom." And they started taking pictures with Jack. Yeah. And I know Henry said he's been stopped in school. He's in 5th grade. Yeah. And, 4th grade, he said that he'd have a couple kids come up to him. I think some teachers came up to him. And so it's been pretty funny.
So do they see the show? How do they view the show in itself? Do they know it's like a big marketing thing?
Yeah, they do. Okay. They do. They so with, Jack was born 2004. So he was a toddler when we started working on Vida and we launched it. He's been with us obviously the whole way, but I mean, through good times, bad times, he's been in the car when Lisa and I have been not arguing. We never argue, but having discussions about what to do, or maybe us breaking down into tears or whatever. So he's been around, so he understands, the highs and lows of businesses and everything. Yeah. So he and Henry to a degree too. and they do understand the opportunity that this is for Vida. Before the show, we started filming the show. We actually created Fresh Wolf men's grooming products, and that was because Jack asked if we would do that for him, because Lisa created Nicole and Breezy, which was a women's hair care, skincare line with the Bella twins from WWE.
Right.
And he sat in on some meetings with her. And after a couple of them, he's like, with her and them, going over products and everything and strategy, he actually asked Lisa, he's like, hey, can you and Dad start a company for me? You know, if you can do this for them, can you do it for me? And so Lisa and I talked about it, and we're like, well, put together kind of a pitch for us, what you think.
Yeah.
And so he did. You know, it was a great business plan for his age and everything. But Henry ended up naming it Fresh Wolf, because that's the nickname that Jack calls him. And
really?
And then they chose the fragrance. It's based off Dior Sauvage, because we all love that scent. And Jack was like, we got to have, you know, shampoo, conditioner. So we've got the whole lineup. And he understands that the show, you know, we talk about Fresh Wolf. We've had Fresh Wolf events. We've had Vida events.
Yeah.
And he understands that people around the world, you know, see it and want it. It's funny because Andy Cohen has done shout outs. You know, he's got millions of followers. He's like the godfather of Housewives. He's done shout outs for Fresh Wolf without us. That's something he gets paid millions of dollars for.
Yeah.
And he's on a subscription that we provide. We send him Fresh Wolf because he asked. He said he loves it. But we woke up one day and he's in his shower with the camera saying, this is the best body wash I've ever used. I use it every day.
Nice.
And so, you know, and Jack is, you know, he's still 18. He's still a boy. So, you know, guys take a little bit longer traditionally to mature and understand things. So we're still reminding him, you know, of the platform and how to use it. Social media, everything like that.
Are they on social media?
Jack is, yeah.
Jack is, yeah.
Yeah. Jack's on pretty much all of them. More than I am, more than any of the ones I am, which is another teaching moment, because we're constantly telling him, you know, not that he would do anything inappropriate anyway, but, you know, friends might send him something that would not be favorable. We're always like, don't repost. If you have any type of question about it, you can't do that. You're on a totally different level of scrutiny.
Is he getting any hate?
No, you know what, which is good.
Yeah.
In general, Bravo has a kind of, I don't know if it's, you call it unwritten rule, but essentially like leave the kids alone.
Yeah.
He has been, you know, now that I think about it, not directly to him, but Lisa has gotten stuff like, oh, you're pasty kids, you know, or something like that. Or the one thing I guess with Jack is we've been asked if we're creating an entitled brat, essentially. Right. Yeah. And because, you know, what people see on the show is just a glimpse, and it's editing and everything like that. So they'll show Jack, you know, he's on the fence about college, or he was on the fence about college during season 3. Yeah. And which is fine. We told him we'll support him either way. We'd prefer him to go at least a semester or a year just to get the experience and create networks and that sort of thing. But Lisa got a lot of hate. You know, you're letting your kid, you know, walk all over you, or you're the one, you're creating these businesses for your kids. They're never going to learn. And what people don't realize is, you know, we're yelling at Jack every day. You need to get your social media posts up. You need to do this. Yeah. You know, he and I have created, you know, very basic projections, because he's trying to work with local barbershops.
Oh, cool.
He's working with like some, we've got products out to some like solar companies to use so that they would buy Fresh Wolf as incentives for their top performers, stuff like that. And so people don't see that. Yeah. You know, and so Lisa's gotten more hate. Jack, nobody's really ever reached out to Jack and said anything rude, which is good. I'd be pretty upset if they did that. Yeah. And you know, nothing towards Henry. I mean, because he's 10, 11 years old.
I think it's crazy too about the whole college. I mean, we've talked about college, you know, all the time, but it's like running a business. I mean, what are you going to college to do? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's like having an inside executive level, even on a small startup or a business, or, you know, I don't know how big Fresh Wolf is currently, but you know what I mean? It's like, learning how to market, learning how to like deal with inventory, learning to deal with employees, HR, sales, cash flow, like all that stuff. They don't even teach you that in college.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, so really the main reason why we think it would be good for him to go to college, like I mentioned, is just to get a network, meet some friends, stuff like that.
I'm more targeting the people that are like saying you're bad parents for not letting replacing college with a business, and it's like, that's the goal. No, it is. It is. And Jack's got a good head on his shoulders. He understands, the value of going to college, and he understands the value that he has right now with Fresh Wolf. Yeah. I mean, he and Henry are on paper each own 20%. Oh, nice.
And so, it's not something that, some people have been like, oh, you just made this up for show or whatever. It's like, no, it's legit. And, we have our production partner, and the great thing is it's produced in Miami, and that's where Jack wants to go to college, is University of Miami. Cool. Yeah. So it would actually kill, a lot of birds with one stone, essentially, because he could have an office there. He could watch the production. He could work closely with them there while he's going to college. And so it's, it could work out perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, did he decide what he's doing with the next 2 years of his life?
He's still figuring out.
Is he?
Yeah. He's not sure. He's, he's finishing up not college. He's finishing up high school right now. He's a senior. He's taking SATs, doing the tutoring, all that stuff. So he's not real sure what, I think he does want to go to University of Miami. That's his top choice. He doesn't want to stay here in Utah. I think he wants to be independent, and I fully support that. Lisa and I both do. Yeah. If he doesn't get accepted to University of Miami, and he still wants to go to Florida, I'd be fine with him going to a junior college or somewhere out there, just so he gets away. Yeah. When people assume, because we've lived here so long, that I'm from Utah and everything, I was in Texas. Yeah. So I graduated high school in Texas, got accepted to BYU. So I actually left my house, my family, or my parents, to come up here to school. So I got to be away from my parents, start to grow and everything. That's why I think, Jack can totally get out. I think he wants to go somewhere warm too. He has said.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah, I think I don't blame him. I know University of Miami, a couple schools in Texas he's been interested in. I think University of North Carolina is on his list.
Is he a sports kid?
He loves sports. Yeah, he actually wanted to go to Duke for a while. Yeah, a huge Duke fan from basketball because he loves basketball. Mm-hmm. The kind of sad but at the same time grateful epiphany hit him probably about almost a year ago, where he realized that he's not going to be playing college basketball. Yeah. I think like most kids, that are in sports, they think, okay, I want to play in college. I want to go to the NBA or NFL or something like that, and don't realize how hard it is. Yeah. And, he's athletic. He's coordinated everything. He tried out for Corner Canyon High School freshman, sophomore, junior year, never made it. Yeah. Played Super League though. And so competitive, but he's just like, I'm not going to.
How tall is he?
That. He's right now, he's like 6'1", almost 6'2". Okay. And so I think he'll probably pass me up in the next couple of years. Yeah. I still grew on my mission. Oh, did you? Yeah. And so I think he probably will too. And, but no, so so he realized, so now he's hitting the gym. He still plays, like recreation basketball. Yeah. But, it just changed things, pivoted a little. Yeah. So his dreams of going to Duke to play basketball, and now, wanting to go to Miami where hot chicks are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I can see the appeal. Yeah. So with you and Lisa, have you guys talked about what you're going to do post show? I know you're still probably straight in the middle of it. When kind of the Real Housewives Salt Lake winds down, 10 years from now or.
Oh, got it. I don't know. We're obviously trying to maximize the opportunity right now. From a Vida standpoint, I think we'll have the opportunity to possibly sell the brand in 5, 6, 7 years. But the funny thing is, I was talking to Henry about it just the other night, And he actually told me, he's like, maybe you should pass it to Jack and I so we can sell it for billions. So he's already thinking like maybe we should pass it down to him. So, you know, depending on how things are, you know, Lisa, I think, I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn. I don't know if she would mind having her own type of show. Just, you know, kind of a showing her in business and family and stuff like that. You never know how long these shows will go. You know, OC is the longest running, and I think they're like 15 or 16 years. I think they took like a year break.
The Real Housewives?
Yeah, Real Housewives, yeah. So Beverly Hills is like 12 years, I think.
Jeez. Okay.
Dallas was canceled after 4. And so I think, you know, the popularity that Salt Lake has, I think there's got to be at least like another 5 or 6 years running.
Cool.
And so...
which is interesting right now, too, because we're kind of going through a cast shakeup.
We are. Yeah. So Mary was off after last season. We have another castmate potentially not going to be on it for season 4.
Yeah.
If, depending on how things go, they might film her, you know, for season 4.
So if they sentence her, she might not go straight away.
It depends. I've heard some people where, I've heard some where I've got some neighbors that are attorneys, and they've said that sometimes they'll say you have to report immediately. Other times they might say, okay, well, since your son is a senior, after he graduates, then you have to report. And so I could see Bravo possibly, if that were the case, saying, okay, well, we want to document all of this. And it would be interesting to the fans. You know, it's kind of a double-edged sword, though, because there's a lot of people that are upset with Bravo still kind of in a way supporting it because of, you know, because nothing has really come out from a Bravo standpoint as far as we are no longer, you know, its ties are severed or anything like that.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, that's an interesting angle to that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because what she did, I mean, she you know, it's Jen. She freaking admitted to it. She pled guilty. I mean, it's not like she's saying she didn't do it.
Yeah.
She took advantage of, you know,
vulnerable people. Elderly people. Yeah.
And so, I don't know. Give the people what they want. I want to see. Yeah. I want to see her go crazy.
From a advertising perspective for Bravo, I totally get it.
Yeah.
You know, I think she didn't show up at the reunion. They initially didn't invite her to the reunion. Then they did. My feelings is because it would draw people to watching it.
Yeah.
You know, as everybody knows, she at the last second said she wasn't going to show up.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I could see, like I said, Bravo saying, okay, well, you're not going away yet, so we'll have you film.
Yeah.
Which would be, I don't know, it'd be crazy. Talk about loose cannon. So
yeah,
I don't know. But yeah, so we don't know specifics, but we understand that they have been looking for people to replace what's been missing.
Yeah.
And
they kind of tried a few out this past season, right?
They did. Yeah. They had 3 friends of, and like I said, we don't know. They don't tell us anything. That's all production side. As much as people think Lisa produces a show and has, you know, she's been accused of controlling everybody and controlling who can be on the show, who can't. She has no say.
Yeah.
You know, she wishes she does. She's a very controlling person, but she has no say at the end of the day.
So when you guys get your like when they start filming, do they say? I mean, there's events, obviously. Are all the events like pre-planned, like the girls' trips and?
No.
That just organically happens?
It does,
So you just know you're filming from, let's just say, February 20th to, I don't know,
for about 4 months.
April 1st or something, right? Yeah.
Yep, so roughly about 4 months.
Is it every day?
It can be. So they have different schedules that they'll send out. We have to be available. And when I say we, more Lisa than me. Yeah. But, you know, she can film, it could be 60, 70 hours a week that she'd be filming. And then there's, you know, she might have a couple of days where they don't film or where she doesn't film.
Yeah.
And so, and that's where, like I was talking about, like with season 1, that we didn't realize that they're filming other people and we don't see it. So they might not be filming Lisa for a couple of days, but they might be filming a couple of the other people filming. And like events, we choose like what events we want to do. Like the end of season 2, the finale was a Vida party. And that was something that Lisa and I would have done regardless of the show, but it was cool because we got to have it on film, and they, it's a great marketing opportunity for us.
Yeah, exactly.
We had to pay for everything, but it's still, the marketing from it, because it's seen worldwide. It's over 16 countries.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Nice. So what's the second most popular country that it's in, or where's the show most popular outside of the U.S.? Man,
Australia, Canada.
Oh, okay.
UK.
So the UK's got to be up there, right?
Yeah.
It seems like they're into the Real Housewives.
They are, what I'm trying to gauge it off of is who Lisa gets messages from the most,
right?
Or from Vida. Vida gets messages from people across the U.S. Is Vida going to be available here?
Yeah.
And but I think, obviously the U.S. I think the UK, Australia's got a huge following though.
Does it?
Yeah, which is crazy. And it's interesting for me because it's like, okay, someone in Australia is loving to watch Salt Lake City. It just, to me, it's hard to wrap my mind around.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you got a heart out here in 2 minutes.
Okay.
So, I always have the guests give us their best 2 minutes of advice at the end. So the rest of the show is yours, John.
Best 2 minutes of advice? Oh my gosh. You know what? For business, I think best advice for business is keep pushing, stay relentless, and have your eye on the prize, and know that if things are tough, they can be better. And then from a family standpoint, I've always told everybody, hug your kids. There's nothing that can replace a good hug. There's days where I've been in bad moods where I've hugged my kids to get myself out of it, and it's helped. From regards to marriage, always tell your spouse you love them. Same with your kids, obviously. And I'm trying to think. I don't know. I always feel like my advice isn't that great. Trying to think if there's anything else. Communication's always great in any aspect. Try to have as much fun as you can.
Yeah.
I've always thought with work, if you're not having fun, then something's wrong. And I've actually told some people like I'm having fun what I'm doing, they take that as like I'm goofing off or something. And it's like, no, I'm just enjoying the learning process, or the success.
Right.
And advice for the show, just watch it and, take it in before you make any judgments.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you haven't tasted Vida Tequila, drink 3 or 4 bottles of it as fast as you can.
Yeah. And all 3 styles are great. Yeah. Not just because I own it, big plug for Vida real fast. It's Highland grown. We bottle about 60% of what we distill. Yeah. So it's clean, pure. Our Añejo, I think, is one of the best out there. It's aged 2 years in French oak barrels. Definitely my go-to, but they're all phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, excellent. Hey, well, thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me.
It's fun having you.
Have me come back. I'd love to come back. And
absolutely.
Like I told you before, unfortunately, I do like to talk. A lot of people think I'm just this guy that stands in the corner, but it's.
Well, it was just weird having Lisa here the whole time telling you what to say, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I make a joke like with Lisa too, because people are always telling her, man, John seems so quiet. And she's like, no, it's because he either doesn't want to talk to you or it's because I'm talking.
Right. Yeah, pick your poison.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I love to have conversations and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'd love to come back if you ever need someone to fill in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, thanks again, John.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Thanks for listening to the President McCormack Podcast, brought to you by McCormack Foundation, Saxton Fund, ADP Lemco, and Professional Floor Systems. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and keep up with Mark on Instagram @President McCormack.